Hi, all. Welcome back to the Fangirl Fantasy Podcast. I am Julie Russell, and today's guest is Juliet Schroder. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Julie, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I'm so excited. I've been following your journey on social media for a little while now, so I'm excited that you reached out.
Oh, of course. I saw that post and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like not a lot of people know my story. They see it online. So
hmm
anytime that I could talk about it, I'm all for it.
Oh, that's great because some people are like, I don't want to tell my whole background and give away the secrets, but you have such a cool journey just based on what I see. So
Mhm.
you own a entertainment website. You're a journalist and it's called celebsecrets.com. And you
Yes.
also have like a country secrets as well. How
Mhm.
did you get involved in creating your own like site? And I mean, you have so many followers on Instagram now, like all social platforms. You interview these incredible artists and celebrities. How did you get started with that?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because I know like your whole fangirl fantasy is about, like the celebrities back in 2008 and like Miley and Jonas Brothers. I was a huge Jonas Brothers fan. I was a huge Miley Cyrus fan and I would always follow different blogs. Like I followed Ocean Up, Tiger Beat, Pop Star, and I would read that and I'm like, "Hey, this is not that hard to do." And I used to build like websites as a kid with my sister and my cousin. Do you remember like Pixo sites back in the
Yes,
day?
yes.
That's what I used to do. And I'm like, I kind of know how to do this. I'm so involved with reading this news. I'm, a big fan. Why don't I just blog for fun? So that's how it started. It was originally called Celeb Secrets for You. And then it just started taking off when I was in college. And I'm like, okay, this is a business. This is going to be my job. And 11 years later, I'm here. It's crazy.
So, how did you start off? You just were kind of blogging for fun, like sending updates like, "Oh, Nick Jonas and Miley were seen out here," or was that, or how did that start?
Pretty much, yeah. I would, like I said, I would look at all different news posts and blogs and magazines, and I saw the writing style, and I'm like, this isn't that difficult. I really did like to write. I was very, like I said, involved with technology. I knew how to, work all these different websites and things like that. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do it basic. Going to try with updates first, then maybe go into a little more like editorial, start interviews. So that's just really what it was. And I knew everything that was going on because I'd follow it. And I never
hmm
told anyone at first that it was me. It was just I was
Okay.
posting it and I was telling some of my friends, "Hey, did you see this, blog post?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I've never heard of this." And I'm like, "Yeah, you haven't heard of it yet because it's brand new." But that's pretty much how it started.
That's incredible. And do you remember who your first interview was?
Oh, yes, I do. My first interview, it was in 2010, so 11 years, probably around this time, because I get like the time hop
hmm
notifications. It was with All Star Weekend. So that was my
No
first,
way.
yeah, so that was my first interview. And ever since then, it's just escalated. And I really started interviewing bands like them, local bands. I would go to all those concerts down in the city and in New Jersey. So that's really where I built my base. And then we started working with other companies. And now it's just, we're with every broadcasting and record label you could imagine working with.
I mean, All Star Weekend, it was in 2010. That's a solid interview to get because,
Yeah.
they were still with Disney. They,
Yeah.
toured with Selena
hmm
Gomez. So that's awesome.
Thank
Congrats. Like,
you.
that's so exciting. Congrats as if it was
Thanks.
11 years ago.
Yeah, I cannot believe it. Thinking about it now, I feel so old. Like, where did the time go?
So now you've kind of jump start like you are now on red carpets and you're
Yeah.
at these big music awards.
Yeah.
How did it transition from just you doing it like in your bedroom for fun and doing these small interviews to now being a well like established outlet?
Totally. So, like I said, would interview local bands like All Star Weekend, Action Item, you name it, all those types. And I was in the city one day actually for a Jonas Brothers Demi Lovato Good Morning America concert. So I was with my friends, and I remember we were just trying to go out to lunch in the city later on after it. And I walked past Viacom, like MTV Studios,
hmm
and I saw Victoria Justice walking out, getting into her car, probably doing press or whatever. And I stopped her and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, huge fan, would love to take a picture with you. And by the way, I have my own blog, website. Maybe one day I could interview you." So she goes, why don't you meet Maggie? And Maggie was a publicist over at Nickelodeon. Now, might I add, this is on the street, like busy Times Square. She's like, why don't you meet my publicist, Maggie? And Maggie gave me her card and we scheduled a call. And now, don't forget, I'm 15 years old at this time, like literally
God.
no experience and nothing. I don't know where, if this was now, I would not go up to a celebrity randomly and say, I want to interview you one day, you know? And she gave me her card and we got on a call and I said, this is what I do and this is what I want to do. And she was like, this is amazing. We love, you know, what you stand for. We love that you're young and you're really passionate. So they started giving me, you know, like Big Time Rush, iCarly, Victoria's Cast. And then when One Direction had a partnership with Nickelodeon, we were able to interview One Direction in 2012.
That
and
is
right
crazy.
Yeah. And then right when we did that One Direction interview, I mean, it went viral. Like all these different record labels were seeing it. And it was great because I could go and say like, hey, we interviewed the biggest boy band right now in the world. Can we work with your other clients? And they were like, absolutely. If you're working with this type of talent, we'd love for you to work with ours. So that's really how it kind of snowballed.
And you're a kid.
Yeah, literally.
Oh my
literally. I can't even like trying to put into words. I can't, but I remember the day that we did the One Direction interview, I skipped out on the senior class picture that you would take like on the football field. I skipped out. I was like, it's not worth it. I got to get ready. And I got to go to this
I think One Direction was a little bit more important than that.
Totally. Yeah.
Did you do this all by yourself or now at this point, do you have friends helping? Do you have like interns, even though you were, you know, so young?
Yeah.
What was your team like?
So I came up with the idea myself. In the beginning, you know, I had a couple of my friends help out. You know, they were just local. They were kind of into the same scene. I don't know if they were as passionate about it as I was. So then I just took the next initiative and people started inviting me to stuff in LA. And the thing is, I've been going to LA ever since like I'm 10 or 11 years old. I would go every summer with my family. So I was familiar with the area. I knew that like events would happen, but during school, I wasn't able to fly out and go to like, I remember one specific, it was like Cody Simpson's birthday. Like it's the Santa Monica Pier. And I was in school. So obviously I couldn't fly out to go cover it. So I would like post on Twitter, I'd post on Tumblr, hey, if anyone is into journalism and has a video camera, call me. Like, here's my number, here's my Twitter. If you want to do this and you're available, you could go. You send me the footage, I'll edit it and I'll post it.
Wow.
So that's pretty much, yeah, it was just friends, you know, anyone that was into journalism, anyone that I would post online that had some type of interest and, you know, they seemed legit. That's how we started. And then as it progressed, you know, and everything started to get more serious, we had to build out a team. And then again, I'm still in high school, maybe freshman in college. You know, I don't have funds to pay a staff. Like people aren't going to listen to an 18-year-old. So it was interns and they would do it for experience. And then we started getting into colleges and then college credit. And now we even work with the Canadian government with a really cool marketing initiative where the government pays them and they work their students and then they work for us, which is great.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has there been any moments that you like, of course, you know, One Direction, where you fangirl out a little bit during the interview, or are you good at keeping calm, cool, and collective?
I do keep calm, but if it's someone that I really, really like, you might see like my hand shake a little bit, like the microphone, or after it's over, I might be like, oh my God, like, how did I do that? It was crazy. I interviewed DNCE a few years ago. So obviously Joe Jonas. And I remember like, we were backstage. It was at a Jingle Ball, and they were like, "DNC's coming." And I brought my friend that was a huge Jonas Brothers fan with me back in the day. And we're like, "All right, we got to remain calm. Like, we cannot. Like, we don't even want them to recognize us at this point for how many concerts and meet and greets we went to." And after it was over, we just looked at each other and we're like, "We never thought in a million years that this would happen." And we were freaking out after. But when I'm on camera, no freaking out. Maybe a little nervous, but I do keep my cool.
But it is those moments where it's like, pinch me, what is happening? How am I in this position? And I think the great part of it is that it's your company. That like it's not like you're hired by a company to go out and interview DNC. It's like you put yourself in that position to
Mhm.
succeed and like to interview your favorite artist, which I think is just incredible.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's crazy like thinking about it. I am my own boss. I run two websites and we have all these social media platforms and our team is just so amazing and they're so passionate about it. And I'm very, very thankful. I'm very thankful. If it weren't for them, I really wouldn't be where I am today, to be
Definitely.
honest with you.
It does take a team, but it also takes a lot for you to like realize who should be on the team and, kind of using your judgment. What has been your biggest struggle through all of this?
Just competing with these big names because we are on big, like you said, we are on big award show carpets and big junkets, and companies even will fly me to other countries and other states to cover events. And it's like, E News will be standing next to us, or ET, or
Hmm.
Access, or Tiger Beat, or any of those other big outlets. And it's like they've been around for so many years and they have hundreds of people working on their
Hmm.
stuff. And it's like, how can I be like that? And, I don't have that big of a team. And I was still young, so I was still learning. And
Hmm.
it's like, oh, like, why did theirs get more views than mine? Is it because they have more followers, or is the content better? Like, how
Hmm.
can I make my content like that? Because that's the end goal, like I'd love
Yes.
for we're getting up there in the ranks, but I'd love for it to do go mainstream, because I feel like so many people love reading our stories and a lot of talent love talking with us, and I feel like it would just be great overall.
And it also is because you are a fan. So like you're not asking them the like stupid questions that like, you're asking them the questions like the deeper things, things
Yes,
that the fans actually want to know and not just like kind of like the PR like so
totally.
what's this song about? Because it's like you Verdi and C, you knew who that song was about, and so you're not, or you knew like the
Yeah,
timeline of who Joe was dating at that time. So you're
yeah.
not like asking kind of the surface level questions. You're going a little deeper, which I think is how the fans can relate and dive into your content a little bit more.
Totally. It was like I watched all of the TV shows that I was covering when I was in high school and college. I listened to all the music. I knew fans that would like this music and these programs. So I knew what to ask. I knew what people wanted. And I took, also that journalism in me to say, okay, I know what the fans want to hear and I know what the readers want to hear. How can I twist that to make it a professional question, a professional story, to make sure that they're happy and their teams are happy and I'm happy because I'm getting views and we're getting out there.
Definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Where what is your end goal with, what do you see where do you see your company in like 5 years?
I don't know, because if you told me 5 years ago that we would be doing this still, I would have never have imagined it. I remember, you always have these goals and these dreams of what you want to do. And I told myself, by 25, I'm probably not going to be doing this anymore. Like I'll probably have another job, or I used to work in finance too. So that I was doing that while I was still in school and while I was running Celeb Secrets. I'm like, like maybe I'll just go back into finance. Like money is better in that
Yeah,
field. But now I'm 26 and now it's really kickstarting. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to stop. And I can't really predict what's going to happen. I could get a viral story tonight, or I could get a story that everything completely goes down the drain. So
yeah,
we don't really know. All I know is if I could still do this and people still want to work with us and people still want to read our stories, then I'm all for it. I love it.
that's great. I love that
Yeah.
so much. How have you kind of had to pivot in the past year? There's no red carpets where all your content was coming from. There's no live in-person interviews. How did you pivot during this past year?
Totally. I mean, even thinking about it a year ago, like we were just trying to figure out what Zoom was, you know? And I remember it was crazy. So at the beginning of 2020, we had someone do the Critics' Choice Awards out in LA. I went to Aspen, I did the X Games. Then I went to Miami, I did the Super Bowl. Then I went back to New York for New York Fashion Week, and I was getting ready to do like Kids Choice Awards, the Team USA Olympic Summit. Like we had all these things lined up, and I didn't want to cancel any of my travel. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is nothing. It's going to be 2 weeks and it's fine. It's just the flu. Right.
Yeah.
And then when we started to see that the award shows got canceled and like the Olympics got canceled, and I'm like, okay, this is serious. And it was hard mentally because I'm like, how am I going to stay in business? How am I going to stay in business if nothing's going on and no celebrities are doing anything? We can't write stories and we can't talk to talent. And then at the end, we can't make any money. We can't be in business.
Yeah.
So we took a couple weeks off just to figure out what was going on and honestly just mentally recharge from hearing everything that was going on. And we saw that Zoom was going to be the way. And we're like, okay, let's see. Can we put these on YouTube? Like, how are we still going to get ad revenue from YouTube and even ad revenue from our websites? Because I don't know if you run any ads on your podcast, but rates went completely down in March and April. So I was just trying to figure it out, and I had more time. So I sat and did some research and see, hey, maybe I could try and rebrand this. Maybe we could do more written stories, since we don't know if anyone really wants to talk about anything during this time. No projects are really happening. And then I'd say within like the summer, we really started getting into a routine where it was like, okay, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll do Instagram lives. On, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll do takeovers. So that started to bring in more social following. More people wanted to go to the website. So I'm like, all right, like maybe I could do evergreen posts. And that kind of snowballed into everyone realizing this is going to be the new normal. And I saw our site numbers going up because we were posting more people were online. And I'm like, okay, these people want to work with us and their talent. We're going to say yes to everything that we can to get content, because we don't know what's going to happen. And the summer it really started picking up again. And then, the fall I went to one in-person event in New York, and then I went to one in-person event in LA. And
what was the event that was being thrown, especially in New York?
In New York, it was New York Fashion Week.
Oh, okay.
So Rebecca Minkoff invited us to her show, and it was up on like a rooftop over at Spring Studios in Tribeca, and everyone was spaced out. Everyone had to get temperature checks, fill out a survey, the whole 9 yards. We only had like 20 minutes on the deck with the new collection, and Rebecca, obviously. That was in New York, and in LA, I went to a drive-through screening for like one of Nickelodeon shows. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of normal. Like, we're starting to get back to it. And then I took on too much work, of course. And then in January, I was like, hey, like, we need to grow this team. And ever since I, really put it out there to try and grow the team in January, I've seen a significant growth. And now we're just doing anything and everything that we can.
I'm sure as I find the struggle is like trusting people with your company.
Yeah.
To bring a team member on, or even just an intern to like handle the social media. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm just like, it's like, this is my baby. I'm so nervous to bring someone on. Do you feel that way too?
Yes, I have to approve everything before it goes out. So you can imagine that I'm up all hours of the night. I'm always on my phone. And if I see something and they post it, I'm like, hey, like, if they didn't tell me about it, I'm like, hey, why didn't you tell me? You also had a spelling error in there. Like, take that down and fix it. So everything really does go through me, and I have to approve it. And if I don't like it, I'm just going to be like, hey, I don't like it. And what is anyone going to say?
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
What advice would you give anybody that's trying to start a blog right now or want to get into journalism? What's your advice for anybody, whether they're in college, they're graduated?
Yeah, make sure that you're really passionate about it. Because if you're not passionate about it, so many people do like blogs and fan sites and things like that, and then they just die within a couple months. So you really have to be passionate about it. You really have to want it. Like, I want it, I want to eventually be a big outlet like all these others. I would love to even get my hosting career in hyperspeed, where if I could go and work with another network and still own my company, I would love to do that. So many people say, oh, you're such a great interviewer. We love talking to you. We don't feel like we're under pressure or on camera. So I feel like I'd love to
do that,
explore that down the line. So yeah, you have to be really passionate. You really have to want it. You have to have a lot of time and patience. Because when I was in school, it was like I'd go to school. I was a competitive cheerleader, so I'd go to cheerleading practice. I was also a dancer. So I would also have dance. And then it would be like 11 o'clock or midnight. And after I finished all my homework, I'd be blogging about, different Disney Channel stars. You
Yeah.
really have to have time and patience, and also patience in a sense of it. Not everyone's going to love it right away. Like I've been doing this for 11 years and we're still growing and I'm still not at that goal. Yeah. And you really, you have to understand that people are going to say no. That's another thing
Yes.
too. So many people would tell me no. So many people would blow me off. They're like, what is this? Like, what type of site is this? Why is she so young? Like, who's really running it? So yeah, you you need to have thick skin, because if you don't, it's just, how the industry is.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's gonna
definitely.
affect you. It really is. It's not easy. That's the one misconception about what I do. People think, oh, you see on social media that I'm at these parties or I'm dressed up and doing this and that. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and it's not easy.
Definitely not. Yeah. And I think a huge thing is too, don't be afraid to ask, because if the answer is just no, you're just back to where you started.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
the worst thing someone can say is no.
Exactly. And sometimes they say yes. Like if
Hmm.
I didn't send those emails over to Hollywood Records 11 years ago saying, hey, like All Star Weekend's in my town, I want to go interview them at the mall. Like if I didn't email Disney, then I wouldn't have gotten that and I wouldn't have gotten my
Everything
start.
else.
You know,
Yeah, definitely.
if I didn't go talk to Victoria Justice and say, hey, like I have a site and I'd like to interview you one day, I wouldn't have ever worked with Nickelodeon. So it's just, you have to understand that sometimes people will say no. And if they do, you just got
Definitely.
to brush it off.
For sure. What event are you most excited to like come back? Like when things open back up, like is there an event that you're like, or a concert or something that you
Oh
can't
my
wait?
gosh. Okay, I could probably like go down the list for you in like different types of events because we cover so many. Definitely for like concerts or music festivals. I love Stagecoach. Like
Hmm.
I want to go back to the desert so bad. Stagecoach is one of my favorites. Red carpets. I really, it sounds like kind of like lame, I guess you would say, since I'm so old. I really, really love covering the Kids' Choice Awards with
It's so
Nickelodeon.
fun though.
It's so fun that we get so much content, and a lot of like my friends work at the different outlets, and we're kind of close with the team. So I love that. I'm trying to think like what other ones. Billboards in Vegas are always fun. The iHeartRadio Festival in Vegas is also super fun. We did Super Bowl. We did like Super Bowl events in February. And once that hits in 2022, especially since it's in LA, like, oh my God, that would be, I love sports. So like that would be super, super fun. I can't wait for that. Yeah. And I just love like the TV junkets, like just being on set and going in and having like their whole production crew film everything and you do your interview. Those are always like pinch me moments and really fun. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
I hope
that's
I
amazing.
answered
You're
your
gonna be
question.
once things open up, you'll be very, very busy.
Oh, so busy. I can't wait.
And where can everybody find your videos, your Instagram, your social media to check out all these interviews and things you
Totally.
cover?
So we're Celeb Secrets on Twitter and Instagram. We're also on, for country, we're on Celeb Secrets Country on Instagram, CS_country on Twitter. And our YouTube, you just type in Celeb Secrets TV in the search bar and we will come up.
That's
A lot of videos,
amazing.
thousands of interviews. You'll be
That's
watching them
great.
for days.
That's great. And who's your goal for 20 or 2021, 2022 for your interview? Who's a goal interview that you want? We're gonna manifest this right now.
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I really don't
Really?
know. I don't know because it's like there's so many different sectors that I cover, like I'm just not music. I'll do country, I'll do lifestyle, I'll do beauty, I'll do sports, like I'll do anything. So it's a really, really hard question. I don't think I have like an answer
That's
for you. But I would say events wise or anything like that, I would just love to get more in those TV junkets and working with different producers and different talent, female talent, anyone that really, started self-made from the ground up, because it's really inspiring. And I had no experience in this industry. No one in my family had any experience in entertainment. It was just something that I wanted to do and I went for it. So I could kind of relate to them in a sense, and I respect them. I respect their work ethic.
Definitely. I love that. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I
Oh
love
my gosh, of
hearing
course.
about someone that like started on their own. And I mean, 11 years is a really long time for you to be consistently going. So you should just be really, really proud of yourself. And yeah, like I said, I love following you on social and seeing your journey and seeing you at the red carpet for all these cool events. I'm like, damn it, I want to be there.
Are you based in LA?
Right now, yeah. So I'm out here. I'll be out here probably full time now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So then the next time I'm back in LA, and if there's a party or an event, like I'll hit you
Let's
up and you
go.
could come. You could be my
Perfect.
honorary plus one. You
I'm
could see
sold.
how
Don't
everything happens.
you said it. You said it. So I'm gonna make you pay up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, is this podcast all like you started on your own too, right?
Yeah, the podcast events, all of that is just yeah. I started it. So this podcast is on like 8 months, and then the
Okay.
events will be 2 years, but we haven't had the year, So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So similar. So we're kind of
yeah,
similar, but different
yes,
in a way that you do events and podcasts and I do celebrity news. Oh,
yep,
that's so fun.
definitely. Yeah, so that's what I love a good journey. I love a good story.
Totally. One day you're going to have to tell me all about your journey too.
Perfect. I'm in. But again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it,
Of
and
course.
I will talk to you soon.
Oh
Thank
my
you,
gosh. Yes.
everyone, for listening to another episode of the Fangirl Fantasy Podcast. I will see you next week.